evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. Today with you is me, Lurinda Habazoka, your host, and my co-host for today is Mr. Noah Njapao. Mr. Njapao, how has been the week?
Good evening, Doc. The week has been okay. How's been you?
The week has been, I think it's somehow good, and we hope that we stabilize. Too many issues going on in the country. Things about people are discussing now sodomy. We are reading the penal code. We have UNGA.
And everyone has become
an expert, yes, an expert in unnatural, at having sex or in an unnatural order of nature. Today we are discussing mining and the future of the COPPERBELT, and our guest today is no other than Honorable Christopher KANGOMBE. Honorable KANGOMBE is a person that I'm sure you know. We are going to go into the details of who Honorable KANGOMBE is. For those of you that do not know them, I think there are very few. We are going to be discussing with him being from the COPPERBELT and having vast knowledge when it comes to mining. These are people that don't need even equipment. They'll tell you this is cobalt, this is copper, this is manganese. As per tradition, let's see what is happening in the commodities market. Honorable Njapao.
Okay, let's quickly go through what has been happening on the market as of today, 22nd September 2022. The quarter against the four major currencies. The quarter closed off against the dollar selling at 15 kwacha, 75 ngwe. The pound closed off selling at 17 kwacha, 79 ngwe. The euro closed off selling at 15 kwacha, 49 ngwe. The rand closed off selling at 89 ngwe. Selected metal prices delayed by a day. Aluminium closed off selling at $2,202.50. Copper closed off selling at $7,690. Zinc closed off selling at $3,098.50. Lead closed off selling at $1,837. Tin closed off selling at $21,170. Nickel closed off selling at $24,949. Crude oil prices. WTI crude closed off selling at $83.63. Brent crude closed off selling at $90.50. Okay, that's all we had for you on the market objects.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, Japao. Good evening, Doc.
Before we go into to digest today's topic,
yes.
Any comments? 7,900.
Well, the price is down. If you compare the price a couple of months ago, I think we missed that window when we could have made a lot of money as a country. And I'm sure it's one of the things that I'll be discussing, the perspective about mining, the window around mining. You know, mining is a business where there's always this cycle, when the prices go up and then when the prices are a bit low. So $7,690 dollars a ton, the price is down.
A lot of people are watching us.
Yes.
Via Topstar, DSTV, and other platforms. People are watching us on Facebook, on YouTube. A lot of people know you. I think you are one of those people that, or politicians we are looking to as future main leaders of this particular republic. Okay. Of course, I know your background, and it has been that of excellence. Yeah. Who is Christopher KANGOMBE?
Well, Christopher KANGOMBE was trained as an electrical mechanical engineer. Partly why I have a bit of knowledge about mining is because when I was at the COPPERBELT University, you know, when you are training to be an engineer, by third year you should start your internship. So you need to be familiar with how an electrical motor works, how a pump works, how mining is done, how water has to be gotten out of the mine so that mining continues. So I worked at Mopani, I think all the 3 times I was on internship. 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year. By the time I was leaving university, of course, we had the global recession. You remember in 2008, we had that recession.
Yes.
Prices went down. No one was employing. I think we spent about 10 months in society until an opening came up. So my first work experience professionally was at Mopani Copper Mines.
Mopani.
No, actually, before I went to Mopani, I worked at Luansha Copper Mines.
Yes.
So a few months at Luansha Copper Mines, Baluba Shaft, a few months at Mopani, and eventually went into selling mining equipment.
With Atlas Copco.
With Atlas Copco. So those machines that are used underground, those are the things I was selling. And that time, Doc, I was already working as a civic leader. I was already a councillor for Riverside Ward in Kitwe. You do recall when I was starting out as a councillor, I was only 21 years old.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which gave me, I think, a lot of experience on how to deal with civic matters. And you know, when you're a civic leader, you deal with cross-cutting issues. You deal with miners coming to you saying, we've been retrenched, the mine has been placed on care and maintenance, and there you are, a young person who doesn't even understand.
I used to come for you at Where's the Water.
Yes, I remember you were in Riverside.
Yes.
Yes, and then we had cases where I remember one day I was asked to go and give a speech at a wedding, and I was not yet married that time. So I was told, we need a guest of honor. So the mayor of the city that time, the late Bachipungu, was not available. So someone handed over a speech and said, go and read a speech. So I went to Hotel Edinburgh, and there I was advising people about marriage. You know, in marriage. So there are these experiences that allowed me to begin growing, both in leadership and also understanding the Copper Belt. So for those who may be interested to know who is Christopher Kangombe, Christopher Kangombe has been in civic leadership. 10 years I was a councillor in Kitwe. 5 years I was mayor for Kitwe. And last year I was given an opportunity by the residents of KAMFINSA constituency to serve as member of parliament. So I've been doing politics for 15 years, but at the same time I was trained in engineering. So I'm a trained engineer.
Before you entered politics,
yes,
you were Kobusu president.
Yes.
Yeah. Any good and bad reflections? Well,
those days it was always tradition that students would always participate in a lot of advocacy issues. One of the reasons I went into leadership was obviously because I had been given an opportunity by fellow students to lead them as a student union leader. So with that experience, when 2006 was coming, it was quite easy for me to appeal to the students to give me an opportunity to graduate into mainstream politics. So for me, student unionism was the foundation. And I'm very confident that there are a lot of young men and women that have passed through that trajectory. I know there's a colleague of mine in Mansa who is a mayor. He was also in student union politics. There are so many people that have passed through that journey. And I was privileged as well to rise through that process. So briefly, student union leader, civic leader, member of parliament. Obviously, there's only one thing that obviously is on the cards for the future.
I think I've seen photos of you with Mwanawasa Warabi.
Yeah, it was Mwanawasa.
Mwanawasa,
president.
late
Yes.
president, yes.
Yes. we had traveled to State House to request government then to build what you have standing at CBU, the Student Center.
The Student Center, yes.
Yes, it was during our time we lobbied for British Petroleum those days, who offered a grant, and then government forwarded that grant to CBU. Quite a long story. But the story is well summarized in the book I wrote in 2013. Yeah.
I remember when you entered politics after, university, you stood as independent candidate.
Yeah, my first election was as a councillor on the independent ticket. That time I did not belong to any political party. But I'll tell you for a fact, we had people supporting MMD, we had people supporting UPND. Those days they were in an alliance called UDA. And then we had PF. So my consideration as a student was, if I stood on any party ticket, I would not maximize the support from literally everyone. So for strategic reasons, I stood as an independent candidate, and I was fortunate that those that were supporting MMD presidential candidate voted for me as councillor. Those that were pro-PF voted for me as councillor. So basically it was a very strategic move.
In 2016,
yes,
I was monitoring elections at COPPERBELT University polling station.
Okay.
Just as a citizen, not as a monitor, but you know, as a citizen, I went there to check how are elections done.
Yeah.
I remember you won the polling station, I think within an hour.
Okay.
Of counting. By 19 hours, I don't know if I gave you a call.
I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, that time you were standing as a mayor. Yeah. That is when they had just introduced the mayor position. Yes.
Yeah.
I
2016.
think 2016. Yes.
Yeah.
Then from there you went now to become member of parliament for KAMFINSA. So you have done, in terms of politics, you have done the
syllabus.
The syllabus.
Yeah, I think the journey has been an interesting one. I think that it's been reflecting in my debates in Parliament, because in Parliament where we are, you need to have basic knowledge about community development issues. You need to have basic knowledge about how government secures funding for projects. You really need to have knowledge of so many different issues. So for me, because of this journey, it's quite easy when an issue comes up to debate taxation, to debate mining, because there's a bit of knowledge on literally everything. That is what you need in leadership. You need skill set, the right information. Of course, the information has to be correct. You don't want to have a bit of wrong knowledge. So I take a lot of time to do a lot of research, but what you've put across is exactly how it is. The fact that I've been learning leadership for the last 15 years gives me knowledge about a lot of things. So syllabus not we share as
a mayor, you have lived under your leadership for 10 years as a councillor in Riverside and as an MP.
Yeah.
I remember under you we did the Mfuchani Bridge.
Exactly.
As Riverside residents.
And New Quito is open up.
And New Quito is open up,
yes.
The roads. Then when you became mayor, you did roads in Ndeke. You remember we could only go to Ndola via town.
Via the highway.
Via the highway.
So we did the shortcut in Kana East, going into Ndeke village, and then coming out of Mlenga compound.
Of Mlenga compound.
Yes.
Are we going to see KANGOMBE now taking that leadership to the national stage?
Well, the national stage now is Parliament. We are opposition members of Parliament. So Christopher KANGOMBE will not be seen as a minister. Mm-hmm. They will see Christopher KANGOMBE at constituency level. So at constituency level, I've always told people, the Constituency Development Fund, I don't want to digress. The Constituency Development Fund is not a new concept. Mm-hmm. It is something that some of us used to use when we were starting out leadership. You do one bridge, you ensure that the impact is there. So at a national stage, I want to do a lot of contribution at Parliament while doing the basic work in the constituency. So there are limitations, but I think it's exciting. I always like challenges. There are members of Parliament whose body language shows that they are a bit not happy that we didn't win elections. But there are some of us who, despite the presidential candidate I was supporting not winning, I've told myself I've been given an opportunity at Parliament to contribute to the right laws, to ensure that the budget is passed correctly, to ensure that I'm able to speak for the people in the constituency. And I think it's also an opportunity to show to the next set of leaders, because I don't want us to remain in Parliament forever. There must be other members of Parliament coming to take over from us. The way someone took over from me as councillor, someone took over from me as mayor, and someone should take over from me as member of Parliament as I aspire for the next position. Yeah.
That's a very inspiring story, Mr. KANGOMBE.
Yeah.
It seems you've spent most of your adult life in civic space.
Yeah, it's not been easy. You know, you are told, no, you're not ready to be an MP.
Yes, yes.
But you keep pushing, and there are people out there who feel that
you need to be at a certain age.
That you need to have a lot of money. No, people who sponsor. I remember there are a lot of people that helped me do my flyers, my billboards, because they saw the idea, they saw the consistency, they saw me always offering myself, and whenever I was given an opportunity, I think I tried doing what was correct. So for young people out there, I think it's important to first of all tell us what they want to do, and then we'll help them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from what we've heard, speaking about the grassroots when it comes to mining,
yeah,
or mining communities. So the grassroots, we can say these are mining communities. Since our topic today is about the COPPERBELT,
yeah,
mining and the future of the COPPERBELT.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the grassroots governance,
yeah,
what is enough being done on the COPPERBELT to make sure that mining communities, these grassroots stakeholders?
Well, the issue of mining, on the COPPERBELT is a long conversation. I'll try and summarize it, and then hopefully answer your very important question.
Especially on the social license.
Yeah, you know, the history of mining on the COPPERBELT, from the time the first shaft was sunk, I think 1930 at Nkana, ZCCM, which is the holding company now for Zambia's stake in all these mines, used to run those mines. Remember I told you earlier on that when you graduate from university and you want to be an engineer, they take you through a program. 6 months taking you from shaft 1, shaft 2, the hoist, that machine that takes miners down, it takes them up, they take you to the pump chamber. There are all these programs where they train people to run the mines. So, number one, the old way of running mines was that Zambians were being trained. So from a social contract point of view, mining used to create jobs for Zambians. We all used to grow up, and I'm sure Baba Zokayu, who grew up in Luansha, we all grew up wanting to work for the mines on the COPPERBELT. The dream job was not, okay, now there are new dream jobs, even here in Lusaka, everyone wants to run their business. That's what everyone wants to be a boss now.
Yes.
But in the old days, in Japao, growing up on the COPPERBELT in Ndeke, every time I would travel going into town, I would see that Black Mountain stuff, and then being poured, Churchlet, Pangika. So we grew up saying, I want to work in the mines. Because in the old days, everyone had an opportunity growing up to have an opportunity at the mines. With the passage of time, that social contract of government assuring everyone of a job came privatization. You know the story. Because of the story of privatization, not everyone was guaranteed a job in the mines. So are mines adhering to the social contract? There's actually no written social contract. The social contract used to apply when ZCCM was in charge. They would provide beans. They would literally do everything. Sports used to do well. Ron United would be competitive. Konkola Blaze was a strong team. Nkana Football Club, most of the titles, they won under ZCCM.
So in Quito there was Power Dynamos.
Yes.
Nkana.
Sponsored by the
mine. Yes. Power Dynamos in Nkana. There was the one that was playing in Mindoro. Which team was that? There was even a stadium in Mindoro.
It's still there.
It's still there.
They call it Miseshi Blue Stars.
Yes. Yes. I can speak in Luansha. There was
Ron United.
Ron United, yes. Zamefa.
Yes.
There was Red Face, which was supported by Zesco.
Yeah.
There was Impembe Drillers, supported by a subsidiary of ZCM.
And that's just for
Impembe Drillers. That's just for there was in Patamato Mine Police.
Yes.
So Rome United, in Rome there was a team. Yeah. Patamato also had a team.
And the stadium is still there.
And the stadium is still there.
Yes. The point I'm making is that the social contract you referred to, or the social aspect of mining, under ZCCM, the incentives were there to support sports, to support good schools. Literally every aspect was there. After privatization, it became difficult to compel the new investors to do everything that ZCCM was doing.
So as much as there is need to reform taxation around the mining sector.
Maybe let's begin with what is happening.
Yes.
With Mopani.
Yeah.
Before we go to us taxation.
Yes. I want us to discuss general issues.
Yes.
I want us to be very specific.
Yes.
Mopani. There are two issues on the COPPERBELT. So Mopani operates in Kitwe, And it operates in Mufulira.
Yes.
And then KCM operates in Kitwe, Chingola, and Chilawombe. So I'll start
and in Nampundu.
And in Nampundu here.
Yes.
So I'll start with Mopani.
Yes.
Okay, the problem with Mopani is just recapitalization. Okay? Recapitalization, what am I trying to say? When Glencore, you know Glencore is not a mining, they are not miners. It's not even an engineering firm. Glencore, the owners of Mopani that time, those are traders. So you know when you are a trader, you look around, you check the price of copper, you think you've made your profit, you want to change your investment portfolio, you want to take your money into another company. So Glencore, they did a survey of their assets, their investment, and said, we feel we are done with Mopani. We want to close it, sell it off to another investor. So government at that time decided that, no, we've seen Zambians running mines before. We've seen how jobs were not secured every time we were going into an election. Because every investor, to run away from taxes, all they used to do, Doc and Japao, would be announce 3 weeks before an election, no, the mine will be going on care and maintenance. Now, you can't have an announcement 3 weeks before an election. So when the investors are called to a meeting, they'll say, no, we feel these taxes, if you take these away, these are costs, then we can continue mining. So government saw an opportunity to say, well, you want to sell this mine, bring in another investor, allow us to run it. How much would it cost? So the value of the assets, the investment was coming to $1.5 billion. So government said, I will buy the mine. We'll pay you $1.5 billion over 15 years. But we'll have Zambians running the mines, we'll have Zambian contractors, their jobs secured, we'll ensure that we continue providing an opportunity for young people to train and continue running the mines. That was the whole intention. Secure the mines, secure the jobs, maximize on the profits, and ensure that we run the mines. Because literally, Mopani is run by Zambians. I mean, we were all Zambians who used to work there. So the problem came in now, the amount of investment that should have been going into Mopani by government was not adequate. Because to run Mopani, pay the contractors and everyone else, you need about $30 million every month just to invest, get your profit, pay back whoever is giving you the money. So the issue is recapitalization. So for Mopani, it's a very easy solution. And for Mopani, I'll put it on record here. The new government will not be able to sell that mine without approval from Parliament. They've appointed a consultant, you are aware.
Yes, to
Rothschild something.
Yes.
They've been asked to evaluate the assets and recommend what should be done to Mopani.
But in 1990s, they still recommended for privatization. The same company.
No, Article 210 of the Republican Constitution requires that any parastatal now, to dispose it off, to sell its assets, you need 2/3 of Parliament.
2/3?
2/3. So if the new government wants to bring in a new investor, they want to sell Mopani, they need to bring it to Parliament, we'll debate it, and then some of us will say, no, there's no need to sell, just get $300 million into the mine. That will be enough for recapitalization. That's Mopani. So the problem with Mopani is just money. Government, the way they've done for Indeni, they've run down Indeni, they've separated with the workers. Because it's a parastatal, they've had to pay. They've paid off everyone. They found 612 million kwacha. So money can be found for Mopani. For KCM, the story is different. For KCM and Japao, you remember that there was a dispute between two shareholders. There was a dispute between Vendata and ZCCM.
Yes.
ZCCM said, Vendata, you are running this mine. We are 20% shareholders. You are 80% shareholders. You've not been paying us the money that is due to us as shareholders. That's how that liquidation process started. The long story now is that the London Court of Arbitration has allowed KCM and Vendata and ZCCM IH to sit. So what I'm predicting, this is my prediction. My prediction is that Vendetta will come back into Chingola and Chilawombwe. Out of that agreement, they are most likely ZCCM will be told by the new government that can you quickly just resolve this problem administratively. This is my prediction, and this will come to pass.
If that prediction comes, what is going to the people of Chingola and Chilawombwe? Are they going to be happy?
Well, if the matter now is subject to a court process. What I say now is irrelevant.
Yes.
What you say, what stakeholders say now is irrelevant, because it's now up to ZCCM and Vendetta to agree. If they don't agree, they'll go back to court. So the court has said, KCM is one mine. Can you quickly go and agree how you resolve your disputes? If Vendetta, you've not been paying ZCCM, go and agree how you pay them. So now, what happens in Chingola and Chilawombwe? What will happen is that you will see the same management back, the same management that had a dispute with ZCCM. I know there are Zambians running the mine now. There's Engineer Mponda, who's running KCM. If you go to all the departments, refinery, the refinery manager is a Zambian. You go underground, manager is a Zambian. Zambians have the expertise to run the mines. This is what I said in Parliament. So for KCM, it's just that technicality. The ownership did not change. There was a dispute at court, and the court now has said, go and agree, then come back to us. So given those two scenarios, Doc and Njapao, what should happen? I think we need to speak loudly, all of us, even if we have no influence on the actual outcome. For KCM, I think we need to be told what the two stakeholders will agree upon before the agreement is signed. Minister of Finance should come. You invite him to sit here. He should come and tell the public that ZCCM has negotiated with Vendetta as follows. And then we are guided. Then we debate that argument. For Mopani, the president did not say anything in the national budget. He simply said, in the official opening of Parliament, he simply said, we are taking steps to no, he didn't talk about, he didn't use the word recapitalization, to resolve the problems. So I would have expected that the new government should tell the country if they want to sell Mopani, government should say, so that we debate. If they want to recapitalize Mopani, they should say it. If they want to bring back Vendetta, that's government. Government should be able to be decisive. They should say what they want. Then the rest of us will debate the issue. So I've given a summary of the problems at Mopani. Contractors are not getting paid because government has not injected money. That's a government institution.
A contractor called me. What's happening with Mopani?
Yeah.
I said, you were supposed to tell me because you are on the copper belt. And when you look at mining, you come from Kitwe.
Yeah.
It's predominantly mining. I would like to go back to the past. When you are entering the copper belt, you'll be received by a poster, welcome to Ndoa, the friendly city, and industrial hub of the copper belt.
Exactly.
We had
Atlas Copper.
Atlas Copper, yeah, where you were working as well.
Yes.
Right? Yes. We had a refinery that was refining the rare metals.
Yes.
We had Bonamkuba mine.
Yes.
We had the Dunlops that were making tires not only for citizens but also for the mines.
And rubber products.
With that, when you are entering Ndola, only left where there's trade fair, all that
was an
industrial area.
Yeah.
They were doing, then we had Indeni.
Yeah.
Indeni, Tazama.
Yeah.
We had a lot of things. I remember, if I'm talking about his social corporate responsibility, football teams.
Yeah.
There was Vita from United. Yeah. There was I'm getting old, so I'm forgetting.
Then there was Lifeboy
Striker. Yes. There was
where Zulu came from.
Yes. There was Ndola Wanderers.
And Ndola
United.
There was
Ndola Wanderers and Ndola United. Where Bobby Litana. Those Litana, Bobby Litana and the other Elijah, they were playing.
Yeah.
Then they were basically, but when you go there today, it's a sorry sight. Where there was Dunlop, I think there's Jacaranda more.
Yeah.
Indeni, which was a giant, is now going to be storing fuel.
Yeah.
What is
now
the fuel?
An OMC.
Yes. What is the fuel? When you go to Rwansha, there was the biggest employers. There was Ben Miller's company, Gilma.
Yeah.
Ben Miller, I think, had 2.
Yeah.
There was Matchco.
The Matchco.
Was making matches.
Yeah.
We had Zamefa, the Zamefa of those days.
Yeah. Copper cables.
Copper cables and Pembe dealers. Those were huge employers.
Yeah.
When you go into Kitu Plastics, I don't know if they're still there.
Yeah, they shifted. They're now in Chimwemwe, trying to recycle plastics. They're not as productive in terms of volumes as they used to be.
So basically, the copper belt was basically the engine of the country. But when you compare those days and today, where are we?
Yeah, we wanted to add some.
Yes. My earlier question, that as much as there is need for tax reforms in the mining sector, the social responsibility that we're talking about, I think we can get more from the mine on that other side for social welfare of the large community. Then also...
Mr. Njapao, just to look, you run a company. You can't force me to do social.
No, there's no legislation. First of all, before you say what you want, there's no law in Zambia which compels any investor or even a local person doing business to do CSR. CSR is not legislated in Zambia. So I can decide from my profits, if I hear the way most companies like doing. They hear the president will be touring Kitwe, they want to come and do an activity because the president is there. That's not CSR. CSR means in your budget as a company, you've said we'll be sponsoring these orphanages, we'll be providing food, mattresses on a monthly basis. That's CSR, it's in your budget. But there's no law which compels any company, and that applies to the mining companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the hospitals, the schools that were built by these mining companies back in the days, I still think that was a good initiative.
Well, Kitwe we had Nkana Mine Hospital. The best hospital on the Copper Belt was Nkana Mine Hospital, just opposite Mopani head offices. There used to be a hospital where any illness could be attended to. So that mine was given to, I think, the Chinese community. If you go there today, yes, they offer services, but you can see the infrastructure.
It's in Nkana West.
It's in Nkana West,
yes.
right opposite. Usakile Mine Hospital, they've tried to maintain the standards because that is where middle management workers, that is where people go. But you can see that the level of investment is not as adequate. So, unfortunately, when the mines are not doing fine, if we don't resolve the Mopani puzzle, if we don't resolve the KCM puzzle, the hospitals in Chingola that should provide better health care. In the old days, a patient could be rushed to Chilawombwe Mine Hospital. Today it can't, because the hospital can't provide the same services. So we need to sort out the KCM puzzle and the Mopani puzzle. If we don't do that, this conversation about taxation, no taxes will come out of KCM. No VAT refund will be given for Mopani if we don't resolve this issue of Mopani and KCM. That's why the conversation should really be what needs to be done and how soon. Because already the price of copper is going down. We'll find that by the time we resolve this problem, copper is at 5,000.
So what is the best model? Maybe how can we resuscitate the copper belt in terms of mining? What should we do?
Yeah, so the point we've not discussed, which I want to mention quickly, there are so many young people who are suppliers to the mines, okay? If you go to Kitwe, people are seated, 10, 15 guys, they are discussing items to be supplied to Mopani. What is happening now is that when someone receives an inquiry from Mopani to supply PP, to supply some cement, to supply some pumps, they are not quoting for those jobs. You know why they're not quoting? They are worried. Even if I quote for this job, I already have 15 invoices which haven't yet been paid. So to resuscitate the copper belt, we need to ensure that mining is back on track. How do we get mining back on track? Doc, government has no option. Even that consultant they've brought to assess Mopani, that consultant, regardless of what that consultant says, government only has one option right now: to find money, put $300 million into Mopani, get the suppliers paid, get operations running, get production running. Mining is still profitable. We can still make the money and still be able to pay Glencore for the money we owe them. The Mopani solution for me is straightforward. It's a very easy one. It's just government will. If the government is serious, they can find $300 million. I don't think government can fail to find $300 million. But for KCM, the solution again is easy. It's up to ZCCM sitting with Vendata and agreeing. Okay, we never used to give you, we never honored our obligations. We are now ready to honor these obligations. If ZCCM says, no, the Zambian government has told us that we buy off this mine, that's a different conversation. But from what I'm seeing, and this is why I'm saying my prediction, Doc, is that ZCCM will negotiate with Vendata for Vendata to come back. It's showing. We are all, I'm sure, old enough now to analyze from experience that Vendata is coming back into KCM. That's the plan. So if they are given conditions, maybe we'll see a different Vendata, but the Vendata I know would promise so many things. We'll invest $2 billion, we'll do what, but they never invested that $2 billion.
You are watching Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. You can send us your text messages on the numbers that are appearing on the screen. Very soon we are going to open the phone lines. You can call us on the numbers also appearing on the screen and discuss with us maybe your suggestions. This is, a national platform. Maybe there are suggestions, ideas, maybe there are other issues that you want to address to the Honorable MP for KAMFINSA, and I would like to go to KAMFINSA. That said, I've been following you on Facebook.
Yes.
You meet your people every week.
Every week.
Yeah, you move from word to word. I think I've started knowing KAMFINSA very, very well.
You know Zamtan now.
I know Zamtan now, yes. When entering Kitwe to the soil site, those trees that you planted are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What plans should we put or should we implement to ensure there's a lot of unemployment on the Copperbelt, especially in Kitwe? What can we do to people like, for example, in KAMFINSA, where it's predominantly agriculture?
Yeah.
How can they benefit also, especially also even small-scale miners, the Jarabos, our friends, the Jarabos on the Black Mountain, which support the livelihood of people in Uzakire, and also part of your people from your constituency?
Well, there's been this story. There's been this story, diversification. Let's try and diversify. There's really nothing wrong with people being taught how to do commercial farming. The farmers in KAMFINSA, there's nothing wrong with helping them understand that they can actually do other crops beyond maize. Because maize, we have to wait for Honorable Mtoro to announce the floor price. We have to wait for FISIP. We have to wait for fertilizer. We've been arguing in Parliament over how soon fertilizer will reach. That is agriculture for you right now. That has been the narrative. People want to do agriculture. Let's encourage them. But I'll tell you for a fact. Go to Nigeria. These rich boys in Nigeria, they have some businesses linked to oil. Whether we like it or not, their mainstay, the thing that makes Nigeria strong is the oil they have. Go to Saudi Arabia, go to all these Arabic countries. The local rich people actually have a stake in what makes them rich. That is drilling for oil. You can't have foreigners only doing that activity for you, which should give you the right forex. So here in Zambia, we can discuss agriculture, we can discuss diversification. Experts have actually said the next millionaires will come from agriculture, food, wheat, and everything else. Let's have those in that bracket. But we can't leave mining. We can't leave copper mining to foreigners. I'm actually planning to move a motion in Parliament. Britain has got reserves for precious stones. We mine copper, yet we have no reserves for copper. We have no reserves for copper. In case the copper depleted and then the price shoots to $20,000 a ton, and there's no copper, we will have nothing to sell. So I'm planning to move a motion that government creates reserves for copper and for all precious stones. We started it with the Zambia Gold Company. So we may think of KAMFINSA and the need to encourage people to do farming. That should be one program. But the main program should be those in KAMFINSA, those who can't do agriculture. Let's create industries for them. Let's agree that these items will be manufactured in KAMFINSA, supplied to Mopani. You know, sometimes you should not hide your intentions, even if they appear that there's some discrimination. It's deliberate. Sometimes you need affirmative action. Sometimes the leadership should be able to say, these items at Mopani will be supplied by Zambians. A boomer, an air compressor, these complicated machines, let Atlas Copco and these other foreign companies do it. But these other things, these are for Zambians. Then we can create industry. That Ndola hub you are referring to was supporting other industries. It was supporting Bwana Mkubwa. It was supporting Lafarge, which was Chilanga Cement. Now we have so many lime plants in Ndola. That's how we are going to get people into employment. But to sit here, Doc, and say, let everyone diversify to go into agriculture, you will leave the natural resources you have to foreigners. We will never create millionaires in Zambia.
That point is excellent, and I like it. Because, you know, in Nigeria, as you've put it,
those rich boys,
they are all connected to copper.
Yes.
You know, Saudi Arabia, even just the states, the hub of tech, the rich people are all connected to tech, because that's what...
even in America, the Bush family, they're into oil drilling.
In Quito, we used to see a lot of hammers and what, and they have disappeared. What is happening?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
So speaking of minerals and the energy connection, there is the issue of CEC, there's the issue of the mining using a good percentage of energy.
Yeah.
And now energy is at its all-time high. How is the COPPERBELT prepared to handle this situation in terms of energy uptake by the mines? Shouldn't it create its own source locally, just as a province, where everything is interconnected between?
Well, it depends. It depends on how much megawatts you want to restrict for mining. Because the excess power we are producing, the thing with power, you can't produce excess power and store it. The technology there's no technology up to now where you produce power and you keep it and say we'll use it in future. For power as you produce, the excess has to be used. So what this government has done, they found machines about to be commissioned, so we now have excess power. So they are selling power, I think. I don't know if it's Namibia or Zimbabwe. We've not yet gotten an official statement, but what I do know is that we are earning dollars as a country now. By selling the excess power, there's an interconnector between Zambia and Zimbabwe. There's an interconnector between Zambia and Congo. I think all the neighboring countries. So we are selling power. So forex can be earned through selling power because we have excess power. Now that excess power is only now. If the industries grow, if we have more mines on the COPPERBELT, if we have more mines in Northwestern, there will be no excess power to talk about because the power has to support growth. These economists will tell you that you need to plan for energy security, food security, and other forms of security. So for industries to thrive, you need to feed it with power. The issue we should be discussing is how much should CEC pay and how much should the mines pay CEC so that ZESCO remains profitable. Because you really, what's the use of producing power? We were learning when I was studying engineering that you need to run a turbine. Water must fall on a turbine, it runs, it produces power. Those machines, as they produce power, that should be money. So I do hope that the MOU that has been agreed upon between CEC and the mines caters for the growth also of the mining sector. Because, Doc, we should never run away from saying mining should help us survive. There's this conversation I'm repeating. People are saying, let's farm, let's produce food. Yes, let those who want to do farming. But we can't leave mining. Mining has to continue. There are so many mines that have not yet been opened. And I think it's important that as power is produced, we also start thinking, how much excess power do we have? Which mines haven't we exploited in Northwestern? on the copper belt that need to be fed with the right amount of power.
You are watching Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. We are now opening the phone lines. You can actively call us and contribute. Today we are discussing the mining sector and the future of the copper belt. You can also send us text messages on the numbers that are appearing on the screen. Director, do we have any messages yet? Good evening, Honorable KANGOMBE. Thank you for the knowledge you have shared with us this evening. Keep up the good works because Zambia needs a young, vibrant leader like you. God bless your mentee, John Ngandu, the future of Zambia. Doc Honorable Mr. Njapao, UPND will make sure mining is finished. Look at the Black Mountain, they have finished it. Paul Kavuswe is very incompetent. Kasenseri, Mumba gold mines are all under attack. Uburofa bwalaipaya abantu. Ukulanda kwalianguka, ukuwomba kwalishupa. Great mover. KANGOMBE, this issue is too big for you. Let the government bring the lasting solution. Recapitalization of the mines by government will not help you too, because 80% will be going to Glencore, and can we run, and we will the mine with, and we run the mine with 20%. We need payment of mine maintenance, of mine spare parts, taken and bosses. There is no need of the so-called consultant. Glencore had done that already. All we needed to do was either renegotiate with Glencore or just find an equity partner, as we also encourage local contractors and suppliers participating in the company. Brian Chireshe. Good evening, everyone. My question goes to Honorable KANGOMBE. I want to know what is happening with Chambeshi Metals PLC, which has been on care and maintenance for a long time. If Vedanta comes back, poverty levels will increase. He is only interested in the smelter. Uncle D. Mr. KANGOMBE wa PF mwalituletelera bashumaini
there was no blackmail last election. Yeah.
There are messages today.
Yeah.
Good evening, Doc and Honorable KANGOMBE. You are a very articulate member of Parliament, and I follow your debate in Parliament. How do you view the Indeni issue? Will the process proposed mode of business by government work? I need your thought on this mine. Mumba from Kitwe.
Indeni. I'll start with
this. Indeni, yes.
Yeah. So this is what should happen. Government can approach the Engineering Institute of Zambia. All engineers in Zambia are under EIZ. So President Ebo Ngandu can be asked through his leadership, can you commission a team to analyze everything at Indeni and give recommendations to government? We don't need experts to come from Italy, Europe, to come and tell us how we should utilize Indeni. The solutions are there. The unit that needs to be worked on, we've all read the history of Indeni, how an equity partner has come and they've left. So I think that for Indeni, the starting point is, it's not general knowledge that is needed for Indeni. You don't need to have a bit of knowledge about Indeni. EIZ, Engineering Institute of Zambia, we have chemical engineers there, electrical engineers, all the experts are in EIZ. Ebo Ngandu can commission a team that can finish its work in a few months, tell government how it should utilize the resource for its original intended purpose. The original intended purpose is that if you bring in crude oil, they call it the commingled crude oil, there will be a contractor to clean one funnel, there will be a contractor to replace filters. There are these other effects. Let's not look at the workers only, the staff. Let's look at the people that were supplying food. Let's look at people that were supplying reams of paper. Indeni is an industry on its own. Those Dunlops you are referring to, those who manufacture mattresses, they were doing that because there was an industry in Ndola. So for me, the Indeni issue is that we need an expert opinion. You don't need to bring in a politician to come and sit here who has no knowledge about engineering, because that issue just requires an engineering solution. Government is saying we use it as an OMC. They have not even explained technically how it will be used, because there's a technical issue. So for Indeni, I think that we need a frank conversation. We'll all be happy if Ndola people can get jobs. We'll all be happy if those who supply food to Indeni will be able to provide food and they'll be paid on time. Let's not focus on those workers that have been retrenched.
Have you been told what is going to happen to the separator, also known as the refinery? Because when you are an OMC, you don't need a refinery.
No, you don't need.
So what is going to happen to it?
Those machines, there are generators there, there are compressors there, all the equipment is intact. I used to visit Indeni when I was a salesman. I know what Indeni is capable of doing. So for me, I think that government will lose nothing. I know experts may have given the minister a report already. That report should have been brought. The public should have debated before government decided. What I'm seeing, the reason why they are not interested in getting Indeni back is that there appears to be this interest in just getting the finished product. We don't know why there's that interest. I don't want to speculate, but my own opinion is that the current government is so focused on just getting the final product. If they are interested in revamping Indeni, I think that by now we could have had that commitment. 2011, when Arabi was losing power, there was care and maintenance. Workers were laid off. They came back after elections. 2015, when President Edgar Lungu was coming into power, these mines were on care and maintenance because they knew it was an election year. They blackmailed government. The same workers who were sent to Advaleterela were sent home. 2016, when President Lungu was recontesting, the mines again were on care and maintenance. So I think that this blackmail cannot continue. And at least, I'm happy 2021 there was no blackmail. Ask me which mine was on care and maintenance apart from Chambeshi Metals. There was no mine.
Maybe there was no blackmail because there was no foreign investor.
There was no foreign investor in Mopan. We were in charge of that mine.
There's another comment which was there. I've just
about asking Vendetta.
Yes.
That we have no capacity to run the mines.
No. We have a call. Let's. Hello, your name and where are you calling from? Hello, your name and where are you calling from? We seem to be having some technical challenges. So the gentleman from I think Chingola is saying Gabai Sora Vedanta Kukaben Salawai.
Well, I don't know, those who are not familiar with Chingola, they've forgotten that Vendetta took over from Anglo-American. They promised billions of dollars. They said in a period of 10 years we would have invested so much. The only thing they did was to upgrade the smelter. That smelter in Chingola was built by Vendetta. That is why someone there posted that they are only interested in the smelter. Because with that smelter you can buy concentrate, like what's happening right now. They're able to get concentrate, clean it up in the concentrator, get it to the smelter, get the copper out. So Vendetta might only be interested in the smelter. They're not interested in the actual mining. They're not interested in these Zambian suppliers who have to be supported. That is why that person is saying, look, we know Vendetta. Those who don't know Vendetta, you should ask us. They are desperate now because they've realized, hey, Zambians have awakened. Zambians are awake now, they are demanding. So when Vendetta comes back, if they do come back, and my prediction, I'm repeating, is that ZCCM will be told by the current government that just allow Vendetta to come. When that happens, which it will, I'm hoping that they can still salvage something for the Zambians. I'm really hoping, because that's the only thing I can do now, is really hope.
Small-scale miners. There's a Zambia gold company.
Yeah.
Very brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Now we don't know how much gold they are buying.
They've stopped buying. They've not been buying. What happened is that government then came up with a model. They said gold from Kasenseli will be going to a company called Zambia Gold Company, which is owned by the Zambian government. Actually, up to now, that company is still there. All they are waiting for is Kasenseli to resume operations. All they are waiting is for small Zambian, those who are doing gold mining, to continue selling it to Zambia Gold Company. That hasn't been taking place. The idea then was that Zambia must build reserves. You can't be a gold producer, you don't have gold reserves. You can't be a copper producer, you don't have copper reserves. That is why I said earlier on, Doc and Japao, I want to move a motion in Parliament to urge government to start building reserves. We will die, you will die, the current generation will pass. What will they find in future? Because if you have gold reserves, you can go and borrow money and say, give us $100 million. You can't see that we've got gold reserves behind us. They will give you. Even this debt restructuring will not even have been a conversation.
Director, more messages? You are speaking well, Mr. Kangombe. Honestly speaking, us people of Chingola, we are tired of waiting the investor in KCM. Please, government, bring investor in KCM. 80% of youth are jobless in Chingola. My name is Umuntu Kuria in Chingola, Changa North in Kamba section.
Umuntu Kuria.
Umuntu Kuria. Good evening, Honorable Kangombe. What do you think about the 10-year tax holidays the government has given to mining investors? Mrs. Mwapesi Lusaka. Good evening, panel. The biggest problem is all the past regime, including the current one, have given a blind eye on precious stones. Let's talk about emerald and gold. They are easy to mine just from the ground soil to the market, and have given them to the foreigners. And you have given them to the foreigners. Then we just have a V. So I think on good, there's another one. Good evening, Honorable. I like the way you are addressing the issues. Please get my number so that we can talk on mining issue. H-way from Luansha.
Now where's the number? Oh, it's in the, okay,
yeah. Please talk about our high pay, 37.5%, highest band, which should be reduced in next year's budget by a considerable margin. We don't want these thresholds of 4-5. Tell Mr. Msokoto in Pare, Honorable Kangombe. That's from Joseph.
That's a budget issue now.
Yes. I'm also adding my... Good evening, gentlemen. What happened to Zamefa? Was it because of privatization that there was copper feed, that there was copper feed, the company, or what? So, Zamefa,
pay as you earn.
Yes.
Well, the Minister of Finance will be reading the budget. I don't know why the budget for many years has been looked at as a document for government. Of course, there are government policies. I think a budget should be, you build consensus with stakeholders. You agree that this will be the tax band. If we keep them here, we'll do the following services. The people should appreciate what you want to achieve. But here in Zambia, I think for many years, budgets have been presented. You see the content on the actual day. It's almost a confidential document. I don't think a budget should be a confidential document. People must know what will come so that they input, they provide ideas, and then we're able to move together as a country. Accountants can be called. Those that were at the Indaba for construction should have provided input. Those that are doing engineering, the doctors, people should be allowed to provide input. Now in Zambia, it's almost a confidential document. You can even be fired as a civil servant just for sharing an idea. In the national budget, I saw percentage in Monekef. But you see, that's a public document. it should be a conversation that should lead to the final document. So I don't know what Honorable Msokotwane will bring on the pay as you earn. He will come with a proposal. Our role as Parliament will be to debate. Unfortunately, Doc and Japao, when passing the national budget, it's simple majority. So UPND has the numbers. So even if we argue, like the last time we argued on so many issues, but we still lost out on valuable advice we gave to government. We told government, don't make mineral royalty tax deductible. There's revenue you are losing. The mines now are using mineral royalty tax as an expense. So when they come to government to say, how much do you pay? They'll say, even mineral royalty tax is a cost. So we've lost, I've forgotten the figure, 4.2 billion kwacha by making mineral royalty tax deductible. So those are things we advised. But you see, every government has a policy. Every government has got the way in which they feel they want to run mining. So the new government, they are saying, let's give investors tax holidays. Let's give them waivers on this so that they bring in more money. That nickel mine in Solwezi, even if First Quantum was given incentives or not, they will still have invested. That's a business decision. They need to invest. FQM is in mining. So if the resource is there, they do their surveys, they bring in geologists and they tell them, if you go to Solwezi, you'll find nickel. The price of nickel is so much. They made the business decision. It had nothing to do with the new government saying we've convinced First Quantum to come. How have they convinced them? First Quantum has been in Zambia since Mwanawasa was president. And there's no mining projects that happens in 1 week.
Yes.
There must be surveys. There must be a license issued. You must have approvals from Cadastra. There are so many things that happened. The nickel mine in Solwezi, the conversation started way, way back. So I don't agree with this idea of incentives.
I remember reading a write-up
to run business.
I read a write-up from you. It was saying that if you close in Deni, there's certain industry that is going to stop.
Ndola Energy. So Ndola Energy gets a byproduct from the process of making diesel. It's called HFO, heavy fuel oil. So you need HFO to generate power at Ndola Energy. Then Ndola Energy feeds the power 50 megawatts, now it's 100 megawatts, into the national grid. So Ndola Energy has no HFO because Ndeni is closed. So now they're asking, I'm told they've written the ministry to allow them to import HFO. So there's that, the cost of power will go up for them to feed into the national grid. So there are these other complicated issues that we have to deal with. So there was a question there, Doc. Tax holidays, is it necessary? My opinion is that, yes, you may want to motivate someone to bring in millions of dollars, but let's not mislead the public that if you don't provide incentives, the investor will not make a business decision. Glencore, First Quantum, all these investors, the Chinese, the main thing that pushes them to come into Zambia is that they've seen that they can make a profit. It's a business decision. Taxes, incentives or not, they'll still come and invest and get the copper out.
There was another question on precious metals, emeralds. And of course, some precious stones are more expensive than copper.
Yeah,
so
quite expensive.
What's your comment on that? Where should we also revamp our jewelry industry?
Well, the market is out there. Our focus should be getting the stone there, make enough money. Right now, Grizzly Mining, Pride Gem, Kaja Mining, ZCCM-IH is a shareholder, so we own, I think, 20 to 25% in each of them. Currently, that is the shareholding agreement. Do we have the capacity to explore other areas? Because you see, there must be a belt. If you find emeralds here, you follow the belt, there must be emeralds somewhere. Do we have the capacity to try one mine, try and run one mine of precious stones? It's possible, Doc. And that is why I indicated earlier that we need to build reserves for some of these things. We can't sell all the stones now. But if they are not ours, if we have another investor, they'll sell them on the international market because that's what they are here for. And then they'll give us a dividend. They'll come and tell us this is how much they spent, so the only profit they made was so much, here's your share. And that's the dispute that arose over KCM. If Vendetta was honest, Doc, here where I'm seated would have just been discussing Mopani. But the reason we are discussing Vendetta, KCM and ZCCM was that there was a dispute that Vendetta did not pay its obligations. So I hope they'll be more honest when they come back.
There was a gentleman from Chingora, Ukuria Shani, 80% of the youth are unemployed, and it's very true.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of youth on the Copperbelt. They don't work. And the nature of them, quite a number of them, and the nature of the Copperbelt is that if you are not working, you can't do business. Which business are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, the government offices are here to come and supply.
Yeah.
There's no industry anymore to supply to. There's no Indeni. There's no Mopani, which you can say no forward supplier.
No one is quoting.
Black Mountain, Nakachinga Machitashani.
Yeah, only for 30%.
It's finished.
It's finished. There's a dispute there. The young people who are loading want to continue loading, but the 30% got finished. It was eventually going to finish anyway. That thing belongs to Nkana Alloy.
So what is going to happen to them?
Well, the picture appears gloomy. I think as we are having this chat, we are all somehow worried that the outlook doesn't look okay. But that is why there is government. That is why people elect government. That is why you have parliament to provide checks and balances. For us as opposition members of parliament, our role will be to continue advising government. There are people that don't want us to speak, but we should be placed on record that we advised. So we are advising that for the supply chain, for Zambians to participate in the supply of goods and services to the mine must be active. For Mopani, which has operations in Mufulira, and I sympathize with the MP for Kankoyo, Hudson Maveta, who's from the ruling party. He's under pressure in Mufulira. I'm under pressure in Kitwe. Bino is under pressure in Nkana because if mining doesn't tick, the suppliers, those you see, those vehicles you are saying, the hammers, those who extend jobs to young people, even the marketeers at Sokone get affected. So really we have to find a solution on Mopani.
You know, the Copperbelt, I know the Copperbelt very well because I've done a research before. I went to Kavwe. Kavwe has the same problem like the Copperbelt.
Yeah.
On your left, there's this place now, quite a compound.
The biggest compound.
Yes. Yes. When you enter on the Copper, let me just mention Kitwe. Kitwe, kwali kundeke,
Kwa Mulenga
Chamboli, Uzakire, Luangwa.
Yes.
Then your other colleagues there, Kandabwe,
St.
Anthony,
Yeah.
Chimwemwe, Buchi.
MP for Ron, George Chibwe, was complaining in Parliament that we have a shaft called 28 shaft in Luansha. The shaft is flooded. Okay? So if the flooding is dealt with, we may see copper being mined at that shaft, apart from the Muriashi project, apart from these others. That problem has been there for a long time. Our colleagues in the new government had indicated that they will deal with that problem. They have not dealt with that problem. So we may have what I may call low-hanging fruits, those problems whose solutions are very near. Though I'm convinced this government can find $300 million. We have special drawing rights from
the IMF.
From the IMF. When the new government took over, they found money on paper. It was written, special drawing rights. You want to pay for something, balance of payments, IMF will pay for you. Not this IMF bailout, no, a totally different issue. If this government was interested in getting Mopani running, they should have simply told IMF, balance of payments, push in $300 million into Mopani. today we would be discussing that Mopani has been recapitalized.
Because I know the taxi drivers at VML are under pressure.
Yeah.
Our guys wapa nani kare president BC side
Pamonalis.
Yes, they are
Sorry
also
side.
Yes, a sorry side.
Yeah.
A lot of them call me boss nangu but what can I do?
Yeah,
as an individual?
Yeah,
people have vehicles, taxi drivers especially, you know, but they don't have clients.
So we'll take the conversation back to Parliament, hoping that the new government takes note. There was a question about Chambeshi Metals. Chambeshi Metals used to get its concentrates from Congo. Chambeshi Metals is not a mine. They don't mine anything. They just have a process plant. They have one of the best concentrators. So they would heat up the stuff and then sell the copper. The owners are in, I think it's Kazakhstan, Eastern Europe. Government has been trying, even from the time Honorable Msukwa was there. Come, we agree how we'll move forward. You know, there's COVID, we can't travel. There's been no conclusion on Chambeshi Metals. I want to appeal to the new permanent secretary at the Ministry of Mines. He's been in the ministry over 20 years. He knows the problems.
But it's very easy. There are Russian embassies just there near Cabinet Office.
Okay.
Kazakhstan falls under the influence sphere of Russia.
Yeah, but
just walk in there and tell the Russian ambassador, and the guys will be back.
Yeah, they've not come because Chambeshi Metals it's now 4 years.
I know those guys. I think they were treated a bit in a certain way.
Maybe
by some business. But
that's a process plant.
Yes.
Even today, they are even able to process cobalt, and you know the price of cobalt. I don't know on that list you shared in Japan if the price of cobalt was indicated. Cobalt is expensive.
I know you have a busy schedule.
Yeah.
Tomorrow Parliament, after tomorrow Parliament, then off to the
Off to the constituency tomorrow.
Yes.
We have a few projects that we want to do. You know, the politics we do, you have to do the balancing act. You speak here, Walande Sungu, but you have to be in the constituents. You'll be there in Parliament, Madam Speaker. If you are not in the constituents, no one will be saying, Christopher Kangombe speaks good English in Parliament.
Nowadays, I don't speak a lot. I don't write articles. Sometimes, I want to cover the
Yeah.
But I just have one issue I think that we should take to Parliament, and I'm sure a lot of viewers are interested in FISP.
Yeah.
What is the issue about FISP? Because I'm hearing rumors because I haven't read anywhere where government has said that all those who are retirees under NAPSA, they can't get FISP. NAPSA pays 300, 400 kwacha to those people.
Yeah.
I've been called by relatives who said, look, me I used to be a civil servant, yes, but I'm getting 300 kwacha a month. A bag of fertilizer is 900 kwacha. I need maybe 10. That's 9 pin. How many 300s am I supposed to put together? Maybe they stop giving me NAPSA so that I go and get FISP. Then there are those that are on social cash transfer. They are getting 130 and 180
kwacha.
180 kwacha. So you're giving him 180 kwacha, multiply that by 12 months. That is becoming maybe...
You exclude them from
FISP. Then you exclude them from FISP. Are we really being genuine to our citizens?
Well, it takes me back to what I said earlier. We need to segment programs for different people. Those who can do agriculture, let's not abandon them along the way. If people are predominantly farmers, all they know is farming, year in, year out, they know FRI will be there. Yes, we can try and change the narrative, but we'll see people die of hunger. Because you see, the issue of hunger is not government sending relief maize. The issue of hunger is also a parent failing to afford a meal because all the money they have has been spent taking a child to college. So I think that government should not abandon farmers on the current FISP programs. There's this thing that I've noticed. When people become educated, they're able to afford things, they forget where they are coming from. I somehow sense that even sometimes in the social media comments, I moved the motion, Doc, that can we extend sponsorship
to the private universities? Yes, I forgot to talk about
under a loan scheme.
Yes.
I said CBU and UNZA were the only universities in the old days that could get students sponsored. Government decided to extend it to 6 other universities. Today, as I sit here, there's a bursary, there's a loan scheme at Nkuba, there's a loan scheme at Nkuruma. So I said, if this is possible, let also students who are going to UNILAS apply for a loan. And then let's bring in the private sector to increase the money in the loan. After all, it's a loan.
Yes.
We can even go to America, go to Botswana and learn how the private sector is participating in the students' loan scheme. Then someone tells me, no, government can't afford. Meanwhile, that person is one who was actually sponsored by government. I'm seeing the same pattern with the FISIP program. Because we can all afford meals and everything else, there when we were debating, no, let's win off some farmers. We can't perpetually, they even use the word perpetually, we can't perpetually sponsor people on FISIP. People should graduate. That's academic. How can an old man graduate from a peasant farmer to a commercial farmer? How? It's not possible. This is an issue to do with food security. If someone is on an APSA program, if they are on another program, let's not abandon them. I think that if a farm block is predominantly maize growing farm block, let's teach them other cash crops, but let's not tell them to abandon maize.
Because you know what I know, from your career to pension, because people have to take shower, they have to buy cooking oil. Then from the FISIP, maybe they grow some maize, half of it they sell to see them through, half they use for eating. Maybe they have also a bit of my animals. So I don't think we should reduce all the. Now maybe we don't add more, but I don't know.
But the name has even changed. They are calling it Agriculture Support Program, ASP. So they've removed the Fertilizer Input Support Program. They are now calling it ASP.
Oh, because it's going to revert on the E.
Now, the policy hasn't come to, we haven't seen the policy at Parliament. There's been no ministerial statement to elaborate the implication of ASP vis-a-vis FISIP. Because then we'll be able to debate objectively. Then we'll provide checks and balances to government in a very objective manner.
Honorable KANGOMBE, it has been a pleasure.
Yeah, we shifted from mining to agriculture.
To agriculture. But I think a lot of people in your constituency are very much interested in that. My family is in your constituency as well.
Yeah.
You are watching Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. Today we are discussing mining and the future of the Copperbelt. Our guest today was Honorable Christopher KANGOMBE, Honorable Member of Parliament for KAMFINSA, former Mayor of Kitwe, former Councillor Riverside, and former Kobusu President. Today with me was my co-host, Mr. Noah Njapao. Until next week, bye-bye.